Hi, I'm Will Wilcher with Lotus West Properties. Today we're going to talk about how to choose an attorney when you need to evict a non-paying or nuisance tenant. The initiation of eviction proceedings against a tenant should always be the choice of last resort. That's not to say a landlord should wait until the very last minute to start the eviction process, though. If a tenant fails to meet the conditions of the lease or rental agreement that has been established and signed at the time of occupancy, it's a landlord's duty to take appropriate action. There are many reasons that could warrant an eviction notice: unpaid rent, illegal activity, noise complaints, or objectionable conduct and excessive damage beyond normal levels of wear and tear. All of these reasons, and possibly others, would typically constitute a lease violation, and the landlord must exercise his or her rights within the law to seek relief through the court system when all other avenues have failed. Remedies in court can be costly and take up valuable time that you would much rather focus on areas of your actual business. However, if you presented the tenant in question with reasonable opportunities to rectify late payments and late fees with no satisfaction, then your next step will be to file an unlawful detainer against the tenant. Now, I realize that sometimes those avenues are inappropriate for addressing the tenant's behavior, and quick action must be taken to get the individual or individuals out of your property as soon as possible. Once the legal system is involved, you need to be very careful about how you proceed. Tenants have a litany of rights and protections that, if violated by you or any representatives or agents acting on your behalf, could make you and your business the subject of a serious lawsuit. This is why I always urge landlords and property managers to engage the services of a good landlord-tenant attorney to protect their interests. Even more important is hiring the good one, because the difference between winning your case and finding yourself at the mercy of a tenant acting in bad faith hinges on the competency level of your legal counsel. So, knowing when to seek assistance. I've seen too many landlords go into the eviction process without an attorney. Hiring legal representation isn't mandatory for entering eviction proceedings, but I highly recommend that first-timers do so. A landlord will give the tenant written notice of termination, and in a majority of instances, that is sufficient to have the tenant exit the premises. But when that fails, an eviction through the legal system is the next step. Having an expert landlord attorney on your side will ensure that every action you take falls within the letter of the law. Even one mistake can be a costly one, delaying the eviction process or even forcing you to start all over from the beginning again. First-time evictions. If you are a landlord who has never participated in the eviction process, I believe that you would do yourself a great disservice by doing it alone. You really want to choose an attorney who has the knowledge, experience, capability to succeed. Many states, like California in particular, have extremely stringent eviction protections in place to keep a tenant in a unit that he or she does not own. Even if that individual continues to violate the terms of the lease or rental agreement, non-paying tenants and nuisance renters have more protections in place than landlords. Therefore, it's imperative that you follow the best possible legal counsel when working on your behalf. This is especially true for cases when the tenant is fighting the eviction and has been obtained by another counsel. The tenant has filed for bankruptcy, or you're dealing with rent control and other rental housing protections. So, a wealth of knowledge. The right attorney to handle your eviction will typically have lengthy experience and expertise in a wide range of real estate cases beyond eviction and landlord-tenant disputes. So I've found the best firms can assist in writing ironclad lease agreements, handling personal injury, working on commercial and residential real estate property cases, and consulting in matters of long-term planning for your real estate business. You don't necessarily have to seek out a law firm that specializes in evictions. In my experience, a law firm that has a deeper well of real estate knowledge will always be better prepared to defend your interests in an eviction case. With referrals and background checks. Now, you've already been savvy enough to know that you shouldn't pick a lawyer out of the phone book, or nor should you hire a firm without first talking to the attorneys handling your case. But what many landlords don't readily understand is the importance of referrals and background checks. As a responsible business owner, you want to be able to trust that your representation is not just competent, but trustworthy. Run the background check on your legal team. Get a sense of their track record. How often do they win the difficult landlord-tenant disputes? This is great information to know when you're seemingly trying to turn an extremely difficult situation into a long-running dispute and resolve it. You do not want to change attorneys midway through when you realize the firm you hired can't cut it when things get complicated. Now let me leave you with this. At the end of the day, this all comes down to money. How much are you owed, and how much do you want to pay to settle a dispute with a tenant? Many landlords think that they can make up for their losses by going into eviction without an attorney. Those who've been in the business for 25 years can probably handle an eviction solo. But for those of you less experienced in these matters, I urge you to weigh the pros and cons of not hiring representation. You could end up spending more in the long run, even after you've lost revenue on unpaid rent or high repair costs for excessive damages to property. I hope this helped, and thank you so much for listening.